Hello again, everyone. Today we'll be still be working with VMware for the PC. Today we'll be working with the terminal services, and to do this you'll have to have the terminal services installed on your machine. I already have this. If you don't have it installed, you just go to your server manager and you click on to add roles, and then you would click on the terminal server services, and then you'd have a couple of different options, and the one you would choose is the terminal server role service. What I'm going to be doing is we'll be configuring remote applications, and we'll be using our terminal server remote app manager. To do this, we'll go to Start, Administrative Tools, Terminal Services, and we'll click on TS Remote App Manager. And this is your TS Remote App Manager snap-in. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be configuring some remote apps that we can run through our terminal services from my different machines. Over in the Actions pane on the right side, we're going to be clicking to Add Remote App. And the first screen you get that comes up here is just a little introduction. We're going to go ahead and click Next to bypass that. And this is the next screen you get is where you choose the programs that you want to add to the remote app program list. I'm going to be adding WordPad, Calculator, and I'm also going to be adding Server Manager to this as well. And after I have them checked, I'm going to go ahead and click Properties. And in the remote app properties window, you can see the remote app program name, which is Server Manager. I'm just going to leave that as what it defaulted as. The location, I'm also going to leave that the same. And you also have an alias you can set up here. Mine is COMP MGMT Launcher. And then you have a checkbox that says the remote app program is available through TS Web Access. I'm going to remove this because I do not have the terminal server web access role installed on my machine. And then the next box down is the command line arguments. You have a couple different options. The first one is do not allow command line arguments, and the second is allow any command line arguments, and the third is always use the following command line arguments. And what the third box does is say if you have a terminal server set up for your company or something, you could set it up. You could use this option to set it up that way whenever your employees were to log on to your terminal server, you could set it up that way the only thing that comes up for them is WordPad. And then if they were to close the WordPad program, it would also disconnect them from the terminal server. I'm going to go ahead and click do not allow command line arguments. We'll click OK. I'm going to go ahead and click Next on our remote app wizard screen. And this next dialog box is just where you can review your settings. And once you look over it and see everything's in order, we'll go ahead and click Finish. You can see down here at the bottom, underneath the remote app programs, I now have Calculator, Server Manager, and WordPad down there. And you can see here that we've got two different warnings here. One says on the right side, tells us that the TS Web Access Computers group is empty. What this means is that if you did set these remote app programs up to be available through the TS Web Access server, it just lets you know that you need to go ahead and set up your computer groups that are allowed to access these programs, or they will not be able to access them. This will not keep your program from running on your terminal server. However, it will not allow access to it through the TS Web Access. And on the left side, we have another warning that says digital signature settings. This just lets us know that there is no digital certificate configured. And it will not keep you from letting the programs run. But you know, if you did have a digital certificate for your programs, you know, it just make them more secure. That way, the clients would know that. And now we'll be creating RDP files for our remote app programs. Go ahead and highlight WordPad in our TS Remote App Manager and be clicking Create RDP File. The first box you get is just introductory page. You go ahead and click Next, bypass that. And then the next one you get is Specify Package Settings and enter the location to save the packages. I'm going to browse, and I'm going to browse to Network. And I'm going to be saving this under Server DC in the Documents folder. Once I have that highlighted, I'll go ahead and click OK. You have a couple different options here you can change. You can change the terminal server settings, the TS gateway settings, and underneath the certificate settings, this is where you could set up your, if you had obtained a certificate that you wanted to run with this application. We'll go ahead and click Next, and then once the next thing you get is to review your settings. Once everything checks out, go ahead and click Finish. Now I'm moved over to my partner machine, my server 02, and I'm going to have to go through a couple more steps to open up these RDP files we created because the UNC path I was typing in was incorrect. I'm going to start, we'll go to Network, and to do this you'll have to have Network Discovery turned on. If you have it turned off, you'll get a little pop-up up here telling you that it's off. Go ahead and click on Server DC and browse to the Documents folder. And you can see the WordPad remote desktop connection file I had created, and along with the server manager file I had created. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste both of these to my server 02 machine's desktop. Alright, I went ahead and loaded up both of the RDP files. Whenever you load them up, it'll ask you for your credentials. You'll also get a pop-up telling you that the publisher of the file is unknown. And I have the WordPad application pulled up here, and you can tell that it is running from our terminal server because if you mouse over the WordPad box in your taskbar, the tooltip will say Document WordPad Remote. And I went ahead and created a file on the C drive of my O2 machine. I named it TS Test, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to File, click on Open, and browse to the C drive. And you see here that there is no TS Test folder here, which also confirms that the WordPad is running on our terminal machine, and whenever you go to open up a file, that it is trying to pull the file from, it is pulling up the C drive, that it is pulling up the C drive information from that is located on the terminal server and not the machine that you are running the application on. And we'll go ahead and pull up the server manager here, which was the other RDP file that we'd created. And you can see here that even though I'm on my server 02 machine, that our server manager is telling us that it is server manager with server 01 in parentheses. And you can also see that the computer name is server01.octoso.com. So by making an RDP file like this, you can mess around with your server. You can mess around with your server from a different machine. Now we will be looking at some of the information that is gathered on by your terminal server. And we've got to start Administrative Tools, Terminal Services, Terminal Services Manager. And then you'll see in the middle pane, you'll see Terminal Services Manager with 3 different tabs. And you see that the user is student 1, the session is console and it's active. And you can see that student 2 is also active, but their session was created by RDP TCP connection. We'll go ahead and click on the Sessions tab and see here that it gives us the same information here
But if on our student 2, if you expand the client name, you'll see that it is running from 2020 server 02. Go ahead and click on processes, and this just shows you what has been running. And you see here underneath our student 2 user, which it tells us again that it's RDP TCP connection, that the process that was loaded was wordpad.exe. Now we'll be creating an MSI file. We're back in the TS Remote App Manager. We'll go ahead and click on Highlight Server Manager down in the Remote App Programs that we had created previously. And in the right side, underneath the Actions pane, we're going to click Create Windows Installer Package. First dialog box you get is just an introductory page. Go ahead and click Next. And we'll get the same type of box that we got previously. The first one we get is Specify Package Settings. I'm just going to go ahead and browse. I'll be browsing to Network. I'll be browsing to 2020 Server DC, and I'll be saving it in the Documents folder. Let's have that highlighted. Go ahead and click OK and click Next. And the next one we'll get is to configure distribution package. And underneath the shortcut icons, we're going to leave the Start menu folder selected. And in the text box, I'm just going to add Server 01 to make it read Server 01 remote programs. And we're going to leave the checkbox unchecked for takeover client extensions. We'll go ahead and click Next. And the next box you get is to review your settings. Once everything checks out, we'll go ahead and click Finish.